We hope you enjoyed yours, and we look forward to welcoming you on board again soon. Ryanair. Low fares made simple.
Over the past 3 decades, Ryanair has gone from a tiny, barely profitable operator to one of the most successful carriers in the world. Today, it is by far Europe's largest airline, operating a fleet of more than 640 aircraft and accounting for roughly a fifth of the continent's total capacity. The scale is staggering. In its latest quarterly results, the company said it expects to carry 208 million passengers in the financial year ending April, roughly twice as many as EasyJet and around 3 times the total of Wizz Air, its 2 main rivals. That extraordinary volume is made possible by the sheer breadth of its network. In 2025, Ryanair flew more than 5,400 different routes, more than any other airline in the world. But their success is not just scale. They are remarkably profitable, posting a net margin of around 15% compared with the global industry average of just 4%. And their investors have certainly noticed. Since the start of 2023, their share price has climbed 130%, dramatically outperforming the wider industry. A healthy balance sheet with around €1 billion in cash has helped Ryanair weather shocks better than most rivals. By keeping most of its pilots and staff during the pandemic, it was able to rebound faster when travel returned. That ruthless focus on cost has made it the most formidable airline in Europe. But things weren't always this rosy. Back in the 80s, the company started with a single 15-seat aircraft flying between Waterford and London Gatwick. They tried to compete on service and business class amenities. They tried to be a nice airline. That approach nearly ended up in bankruptcy. By 1990, Ryanair had lost millions and was on the verge of collapse. Then, Michael O'Leary stepped in. He had joined the company as chief financial officer at just 27, and within 2 years he had risen to CEO. Early in his tenure, he made a pivotal trip to meet Herb Kelleher, the legendary founder of Southwest Airlines, a meeting that would go on to reshape European aviation. Southwest had already revolutionized air travel in the US with a radically simple idea: strip out everything unnecessary, keep costs as low as possible, and pass those savings on to customers. No meals, no assigned seating, no complex connections. Just cheap, reliable travel from point A to point B. O'Leary returned to Ireland, convinced the same model could work in Europe. But he didn't just adopt it, he intensified it. Where Southwest was friendly and cost-conscious, Ryanair was borderline hostile. Where Southwest removed unnecessary extras, Ryanair removed almost everything. That philosophy extended beyond the cabin. O'Leary quickly built a reputation as a brutal negotiator. When Willie Mullins, who trained his 60 racehorses, attempted to raise his fees, O'Leary pulled every horse from his yard. When Boeing pushed for higher prices on new aircraft, he publicly dismissed them as delusional. And that attitude serves to exploit every such commercial advantage, beginning with the airports his company serves. Traditional airlines fly to major airports: Heathrow, Charles de Gaulle, Frankfurt. These locations are convenient, well-connected, and expensive. Ryanair refuses to use any of them. Instead, they fly to secondary and regional airports that charge lower landing fees. Frankfurt-Hahn is 120 kilometers from Frankfurt. Paris-Beauvais is 85 kilometers from Paris. Stockholm-Skavsta is 100 kilometers from Stockholm. These airports are far from city centers. They're inconvenient, but cheap. By using secondary airports, Ryanair saves millions on landing fees, gate charges, and airport taxes. These savings allow them to offer ticket prices so low that even with the extra cost of getting to the city center, it's still cheaper than flying with a legacy carrier. But cutting airport fees was just the beginning. The airline is also never slow to take advantage of weakened competition. The collapse in 2021 of Alitalia, Italy's national carrier, has allowed Ryanair to take a 40% share of the domestic market. It also moved in smartly to Sweden and Denmark to exploit the post-pandemic weakness of SAS, a Scandinavian rival. Things are also kept simple in the air. Rather than juggling multiple models of aircraft, it flies just one plane, the Boeing 737, which makes everything from maintenance to pilot training cheaper and easier to manage. And it doesn't let those planes sit still for long. Ryanair keeps its aircraft flying for as many hours a day as possible, squeezing more productivity out of every jet than most rivals. That scale also gives the Irish serious bargaining power. Because they buy aircraft in such large numbers, it can negotiate from a position of strength with suppliers. Its giant order for up to 300 larger, more fuel-efficient Boeing 737 MAX jets, due to start arriving in 2027, should push costs down even further. And those aircraft are central to Ryanair's next big ambition, carrying 300 million passengers a year by 2034. And that target says something important.
So we're now, for the first year in many years, looking into a summer where we'll have a full complement of aircraft. That will enable us to grow by about 4% to 215 million passengers. And then more importantly, the MAX 10. We've 300 of those on order, and we're very much planning with Boeing now to get the first 15 of those in the spring of 2027.
They are no longer just a scrappy, low-cost carrier exploiting gaps in the market. They are now the business setting the terms of competition across European aviation. Because over the past 3 decades, they haven't simply adapted to the industry. They've forced the industry to adapt to them. By stripping air travel back to its bare essentials, Ryanair didn't just build a hugely successful business. It helped reshape the entire European airline industry in the process, delivering enormous value to both shareholders and millions of price-sensitive passengers. And after decades of overcapacity and brutal competition, the market may finally be entering a more stable phase. Barriers to entry are rising fast. Boeing and Airbus are effectively sold out for years, making aircraft harder to get hold of, while higher interest rates and tighter financial conditions make it far more difficult for new challengers to get off the ground. That leaves Ryanair in a very strong position. At this point, the biggest threat to the airline probably isn't competition, it's complacency. Because after spending 30 years bullying weaker rivals out of the sky, the only thing left that might finally bring Ryanair down is themselves.